Hi, welcome to the Anthony and Todd Show, a weekly podcast that critiques and memes music. I'm your host, Jonathan, aka super excited about SpongeBob SquarePants, Battle for Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated. And I'm joined by my ever-attentive co-host, my best friend, my pal, my amigo, my droog, Vincent.
Okay, I don't understand how Post Malone and Slauson Malone are related.
My guess is,
brothers?
like distant cousins?
I'm assuming brothers.
Cousins, probably.
Brothers.
I'm gonna go with cousins.
Brothers.
What?
Twins.
They're twins? Identical twins.
I actually have no idea what Slauson Malone looks like, so good.
Nothing like Post Malone.
I would assume so. I would hope not, because then he would actually be Post Malone's twin.
Yeah, and that would suck.
And this is episode 88 of the Anthony and Todd Show, an episode we would like to call I Saw Denzel Curry's Planet Zoo at the PC Gaming E3 press conference. Do you understand that reference?
I don't, and I don't want to be honest.
Planet Zoo is a game by the people who made Planet Coaster. It's essentially just Zoo Tycoon. It's a Planet Zoo. Denzel Curry's album's called Zoo.
I get it now. And I still wish I didn't get it.
Yeah, it's smart, isn't it?
No.
It's too smart for you to handle. You have to have an IQ of 5. Today we're going over the latest...
IQ of 4.
Oh, fuck you. Today we're going over Denzel Curry's latest project, Zoo, Remo Drive's latest album, Natural Everyday Degradation, and finally, Slauson Malone.
It's pronounced Degradation.
Degradation? Degradation. I thought it was Oh, it is Degradation.
There's a D. You're just skipping over to D. And the syllable break that it creates?
I think it's Degra on.
Degrassi Next Generation?
No, Drake's not here.
Oh, that's right.
And then Slauson Malone's A Quiet Farewell 2016 to 2018. It was a really long farewell.
That was a very long
farewell. It went over 2 years.
Yeah.
Before we start, our intro theme song today is the same one I used Monday because I've been lazy and I forgot to record one, so it's called Dave.
You piece of shit.
Yeah, I'm lazy. I'm doing too. I had to combat my depression after the latest Miley Cyrus EP.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then I had to listen to an Imagine Dragons track.
Oh,
I think I'm scarred for life.
This is like a couple weeks after the second Logic album of the year. Oof.
So yeah, getting right into it. Let's get into a review of Denzel Curry's latest album, Zoo. Denzel Curry is a Carol City, Florida, also Miami, Florida rapper who's been getting his name up over the last couple of years because of projects like Imperial and last year's Taboo. And he's one of the harshest, one of the most, I guess, I want to say smartest, but that's not really it, as well as just well-shaped minds in hip-hop currently. Yeah. One of the kind of figures and kind of the pseudo-conscious rap era we're kind of in, where it's not fully conscious rap, it's more a mix of experimentation and loud environments.
Probably one of the best examples of what's being like kind of being dubbed right now is like punk rap or rap punk.
Yeah, kind of experimentation. I can't speak today for some reason.
Collaborator with one of my favorite current punk bands, Show Me the Body.
Yeah, and also collaborated JPEG Mafia, so that kind of gives you a space of where Denzel Curry kind of resides at the current moment. Zoo, as I mentioned, comes right after Taboo, which was a phenomenal album he released last year. Had hit tracks like Sumo and Clout Cobain on it.
Vengeance.
And
Black Balloon.
He was hype, but managed to talk about issues of fame and essentially the whole entire kind of system of rap and how it is kind of being things like drug uses is kind of a common problem in it, but kind of scoping out this entire kind of little niche for himself in one of his most solid together projects to date. And Zoo comes less than a year right after it. And listening to the first single, Ricky, I wasn't really sold at first. I thought it was going to be...
I was confused.
It was way too trappy.
It was, yeah, because...
and too bright.
It was bright, it was trappy, it had, like, none of the, like, edge that he has, none of the grittiness. And especially with doing that, like, Rage Against the Machine cover in between these two albums, to go from the dark grittiness of, like, Taboo, then to go to, like, a fucking Rage Against the Machine cover.
Yeah.
And then be, like, followed up of this, I was very much thrown for a loop.
Yeah. So yeah, his character was still present.
Yeah.
But it just reminded me a lot of Vince Staples' FM that dropped last year, because that seemed like kind of a one-off, kind of not thrown together, but easier release for him, something that didn't take as much thought or time. It was a great album nonetheless, but I felt like it was going to be similar, kind of almost transitional album before something big for this new Curry project. And it kind of is, but it's more of this album is a tribute to his hometown, Carol City, which is a nickname for it, is Zoo. So you get kind of this tribute of Miami, which is really nice, and that kind of like Florida scene, which is more popular now than ever because of acts like Curry, because of acts that got into fame like Ski Mask the Slump God and the late XXXTentacion. So it's an important scene at the current moment because of the number of artists that are coming out of that area. So I think it's a very fitting tribute that Curry, a pretty fitting time for Curry to kind of make this tribute. All the artists featured on here are from Miami or Carol City, or at least around that area. And a decent amount of the producers are from that area as well. And I think what I really enjoy about this is because I don't know a lot of these names of these features, except for like Rick Ross and Tay Keith. I was very surprised with the features, and that's how I felt about Taboo too. Picking artists like JID and JPEG to kind of come along with him, I thought was very surprising, and I think he does the same thing on this and surprising me with the features. All of them really fit for him. I think the most distinctive out of any of them was Rick Ross on the track BORDZ, which is very fitting. It's a nice kind of synthetic moment where it's very similar to Curry's past career, and it's probably one of the more harshest moments on here.
Until like P.A.T at the end.
Yeah, which is nice because we get to see Rick Ross in the new area, and I think Rick Ross's features are great only when he has a legitimate artist. Like last year on Pusha T's Daytona when he featured, it made sense because when he's working with a legitimate artist, the legitimacy applies to the tone of Rick Ross and the character of Rick Ross, because I feel like it's hard time to kind of take Rick Ross serious.
Yeah.
And when you have a legitimate artist, that legitimacy spreads over to him, and he comes off as this very harsh and kind of a crime-filled individual, which is, I think, the track's kind of about. It has this villainous nature. The deep synthetic tones of the track, I think, really work really well. Tracks like Ricky are completely bouncy and out of the control. He's talking about how his dad told him to treat women with respect, and
his mom said that don't trust any hoes, use a rubber.
Yeah, so it's a very fitting tribute to his dad, who is named Ricky.
Yeah.
And it has that infectious nature. Curry's project, I feel like the instrumentals on this may not be something I would expect, but I feel like he fits over the most of them.
Yeah.
The only one I really don't think it works is Automatic with Tay Keith. It's just a little bit too bland. I think Curry kind of underdoes it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit.
Yeah, Automatic was just very little energy in like Curry's voice. Which, even though like this is very much different production and like style and tone from like his usual like harsh, aggressive like style, he still took that style and kept his energy going for like every track but that one. So that one just, because of that alone, with the lack of energy, the lack of Curry's personality being present, it just felt very bland and forgettable.
Yeah. Speedboat is completely infectious. That track feels like it can just like go on forever. It can go on for 4 hours.
I could put it on loop and I wouldn't care.
Yeah, it just feels like it has this nature where it's just constantly flowing and just going into this very inflecty, almost like it's like you're watching a basketball be dribbled, or you're seeing two people play tennis and they're like hitting the ball back and forth. That kind of nature where it just seems very like endless, and it just has that certain pattern to it that's just perfect. But yeah, you have moments like CAROLMART, which is in title is a tribute to like a local pawn shop that was in Carol City before it got demolished. Moments like Zoo and CAROLMART have this very braggadocious nature that I think comes off very well. And Curry with his braggadocio, it may not be the most interesting lyricism he's provided, but his character is still there, and his tone across this thing, and his rhythm and his pace is undeniable. He's one of the most technical, gifted rappers at the current moment. He can just out-rap anyone. He's just incredible.
Not even really trying, because like, I don't know if you like looked up like the making of this album, like almost every song here he just freestyled.
Yeah, it doesn't super surprise me, because I feel like there's a lot of repetitive nature in I think the lyricism of this tracks, but it works because I think Curry's character is still consistent throughout, and I think we're going into at least a different breakdown of different areas of kind of trap and almost kind of like a darker synthetic hip hop that kind of Curry's more known for being over. Again, moments like BORDZ and P.A.T. I think one thing, if Trevor was here, one thing he probably does this album on is the Blackland 666 skit. That radio trope has been done to death at this point.
It's done to death, but like if you look into like Curry's past like work when he worked, what the fuck were they called? There's like a rap group that he used to be a part of, and that was like one of their like gimmicks was the Blackland 666 thing.
Yeah.
And since this is like a tribute to like the past and like his past and like his like where he's from and like where his upbringing came from in terms of rap, because like Ricky was who like introduced him to rap and all that. It kind of makes sense to do that like brief little nod to like his original group.
Yeah.
It's and like none of these are like derailing the album.
Yeah, I just feel like that trope's kind of been done to death.
Yeah, it's been done to death, but like they were doing it the first time, so it kind of makes sense to kind of bring it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to hold that against him because of the context.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe my phone went off. But yeah, Pat is an aggressive outro that I think the album really comes together with the Ronnie J production. And
One of my favorite lines on the album of I carry hollow tips because it reflects what's in my soul.
Yeah. And I think Curry on this is persistently just being himself. And it comes off really, really well over the course. I don't think the ideas presented on this are groundbreaking by any means, or groundbreaking in the comparison to the ideas that are taboo. But I think that nature of character and having it in his music and having it spread throughout really works super well on this record.
Yeah,
I don't think he's breaking any new groundbreaking barriers on this, but he's true to himself, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and if you read the interviews about like why he made the album, he's like not trying to.
Yeah.
The point was that everybody like kind of for a while like dismissed Miami rap, and he wanted to legitimize it in a way that he hadn't beforehand, because like he became famous like breaking away from the traditional Miami sounds, and he wanted to legitimize the original like sounds he grew up in. So like it makes sense that it was not breaking ground because it's trying to legitimize what's already there.
Yeah. But I like that concept, that idea of that, having it applied to it. It makes it feel like this is not just like throwaways or things that are underdeveloped. That and his character adds a ton to it. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I think the only moment I really don't care for is Automatic, but everything else I think super flows really well.
And like the skits, like the yo skit, is like it's funny.
I straight up thought that was Zach Fox for a second. I thought it was a pitch down Zach Fox. But yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. Keep in mind that the score's a futile, meaningless right now. I'm feeling a 8- on it.
I'm feeling an 8.5 because I wouldn't rank it as high as Taboo, which I'd rank as a 9, but I feel like it's more than an 8, so I'd give it an 8.5.
Curry, again, performance and character is the biggest thing that matters on this, and he brings it through. And
Curry is as strong as he's always been.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready to go on a Remo Drive?
Where are we going? Where are we driving?
To the natural, everyday degradation.
Degradation.
I can read.
I don't think you can.
Words.
Do you need me to help you, like, read? Do you need me to teach you how to read, Vincent?
No, I don't need to read. I just need to hear. Because I review music. Yeah, I need to hear and I need to talk. I do not need to read.
You need to be able to read the titles of things.
No. The titles should be said in the songs, and I should be able to hear them so I can speak them out.
Oh my god.
My eyes are meaningless in this process.
Your eyes are meaningless.
I'm going to do this review blindfolded. Time to get a review of Remo Drive's natural, everyday degradation. Degradation.
I just don't think you can speak. I think that's the real problem.
Just let me be, Jonathan, and get closer to the mic so people can hear you better.
I think they can hear me just fine.
Remo Drive is a Bloomington, Minnesota emo duo. Used to be, at one point, I think, a trio for the last album, Greatest Hits, but currently consisting of Eric Paulson, who's a vocal, who does lead vocals and guitar, and Stephen Paulson, who does bass. Their 2017... You're gonna make more noise?
I was trying to get closer to the mic, like you said.
Their 2017 album,
Jackass.
Their 2017 debut album, Greatest Hits.
I just love the audacity of like naming your debut album Greatest Hits.
It reminds me of like the Pokemon movie. That's called the Pokemon movie. The first movie.
Yeah, she's like, we're gonna make more of these.
Yeah, and the same thing with Doug too. I think Doug had a movie.
Yeah.
And it was called the first movie, and then it never got another one.
It was bad. So bad.
Yeah, their debut Greatest Hits was fantastic emo. It was filled with character, self-deprecation, but it was really smart and I think it showcased a lot of emotion and character and passion, and it wasn't too much. It felt like it was deserved, the character. It was emo, but it was like that well-earned emo position where it's not like throwing too far over the curve.
Yeah.
It's not too much. We're not just getting lines that are completely meaningless, like the 21 Pilots track where I have to feel like I have to like fucking read a poem or something like that and just like understand, go through these haikus of just bullshit. But tracks like You're Killing Me, Art School, Crash Test Rating, and I'm My Own Doctor, just fantastic. Ton of passion put through that project, and I was really excited to see where they go next now that they're a duo. And just see what this whole entire project. I didn't listen to any of the singles. I just wanted to be surprised. It seemed like a very low-key release for them after they debut. And for the most part, I don't think it hits as hard as some of the singles did on their debut, but I think it's a way more consistent journey of the entire 38 minutes. I think the biggest thing I can knock it is some of these tracks I feel like are a little bit too much same, or they feel too much of the same like song structure.
Yeah.
Chorus, hook, or no, not chorus. Verse, hook, guitar solo. Like I feel like it just hits that a little bit too much on the hay. But I feel like,
and a lot of the songs, like some of them just start sounding the same.
yeah, at least with the production, I think the thing that makes it the most interesting, it's the most noticeable, is the vocals and the lyricism, because the theme of this is a lot about aging, not only about like you aging and time going by, but mostly love and relationships, and how that almost has a shelf life of sorts going over the course of this entire album. I found it to be really actually surprising that I felt this had a lot of different layers that their last album really didn't have. While I really like the self-deprecation on the last one and how the character of it kind of came off, I feel like this is way more fuller in experience going through these entire different narratives.
It seems, I guess, more mature.
Yeah, which is nice to hear after their debut, because I didn't think they really needed to mature as much as more of I just kind of some fine-tuning. Yeah. I think on this we get really narrative fine-tuning, which turns out to be more interesting material as an entire project instead of just moments. Moments like The Devil, where he's talking about how almost the devil and his angel on the shoulder are on his back and kind of corrupting him in a way. How they're kind of, you need the kind of like balance of both bad and good in your life, and how it's important. Moments like Shaking, which interpolates the AC/DC song. What is it called? You Shook Me All Night Long?
Yeah, You Shook Me All Night Long. That was probably one of my least favorite moments.
Really, you just didn't like how it interpolates it?
Like, it's just because that's such like a classic like AC/DC track, and it's just such a like a banger, I guess. Like it's full of energy.
A banger?
Banger.
Banger?
I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
Joe Boehner. Who's the guy that was
Joe Boner?
Joe Boner.
Joe Boner. Joe Boner. Anywho, for an original like song that's like so like upbeat and energized, to be as like low key and like kind of just dead, it just kind of,
I think that's kind of the point of the atmosphere, is that kind of is just this hookup.
Like, I'm sure it's like the point, but at the same time it's just, it doesn't sound that great.
Moving on to moments like Dog, where he feels like almost his like mental health is like a dog and he has to go out in the woods and kill it. And how it's infecting his relationship. Same thing with Separate Beds. You see this kind of like falling apart relationship, and now they're sleeping in different beds. And how he still has hope and optimism that it will get better, and they still love each other, but it's just they're going through a rough patch. Erza and Maria showcasing this very fallen apart relationship that definitely has a set shelf life. Halos kind of continues on that concept. Around the Sun's a very pretty and beautiful moment about how in the days are going by and everything seems so meaningless to him. He doesn't know what day it is. Everything's just kind of blurring into one as we kind of travel around the sun. On the chorus, on the hook, it has this very nice like almost, it gets into a very like wet space, almost the sorts. It feels very like empty, hollow, and has that nice feeling of we're almost kind of lost in space, which is really cool. It puts you in that mindset of we're just slowly rotating around the sun and space, and everything's meaningless, life's pointless, which I think really fits the themes of kind of just being lost and just feeling you're constantly aging, constantly degrading.
Yeah.
I just like the themes that are constantly being like hit around this point. I think A lot of the guitar solos on this actually really work for me. I think they're very energetic and they come at the most important time, but I feel like there's just they feel too strategic, or not too strategic, but too basic at their placement.
It's the generic place it like.
Yeah, it's just at the end. They're
always
always
the end of like the second chorus.
Yeah, it's just like I wish it would just like start off with guitar solo, like mix it up a little bit, because I feel like the biggest problem is this is just it's too formulaic. Yeah. Which is a weird thing.
It's very formulaic, and then my issue is sometimes like the vocalist, sometimes it feels a little pitchy, and as well as it feels like almost a forced sound sometimes. Like he's trying to force the high pitch, and he's trying to force the like emo alternative like high pitched vocals.
I'm gonna play like devil's advocate a little bit and saying that's kind of what emo is kind of about with a lot of vocalists.
Yeah, but like
because some are more natural than others.
Yeah, but
still
like,
trying
there's
to
times where he sounds more natural and it sounds better than there's times where it seems like he's trying to force it to be even higher than where he normally's at. Because like his natural like pitch is like kind of like almost a John Darnielle level.
John Darnielle
or Darnell, whatever. Don't care. The last album was bad. You're not allowed to have your name pronounced correctly anymore until you make a better album.
That's pretty harsh.
Yep. But yeah, like it's
very like song speaky.
Yeah, and like it's nice and it sounds good when he sounds natural, but when he sounds like he's trying to force it to be even higher, which it's already plenty high enough. It seems odd.
No, you can always go higher. Take me to higher love, Jonathan. Oh. But I think it actually adds to the emotion. I think while at times it seems a little bit too pitchy, I think it actually adds to the fragileness of the entire record.
Sometimes it does, but then there's other times where it doesn't. It's hit or miss.
I guess I never miss, huh?
I hate that I can't just walk out anymore for the bit and you can't just cut back.
No, I'm not.
I hate that.
Yeah, keeping in mind that our scores are futile and meaningless. Right now I'm feeling like a light 8 on this. I enjoy 8-. I enjoy it.
7.5.
7.5. Yeah. I
Mm.
really think this is one of the quintessential emo albums of the year.
There's not been a lot, so like...
Yeah, Pedro the Lion, Pup. This.
Pup. I'd put Pup above this one.
It is, yeah. But I like this.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for Remo Drive, and I think they continue to showcase me a reason why I should have a soft spot for them, because they have interesting lyricism, interesting performances. I just feel like on this they're a little bit too formulaic, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Ty, are you ready to see Post Malone's younger brother?
Again, pretty sure they're cousins.
He's like a German cousin. He's Slauson. That sounds like a German name, right? You're German. You should know.
Actually, yeah, I think it might be. If it's pronounced that way.
German Post Malone. Again, I have no idea what he looked like.
I'm pretty sure.
Time to get a review of Slauson Malone.
Google it so we can like settle this once and for all. I'm gonna fucking pull up a guy.
That he's the brother of Post Malone?
No, that we're gonna sell that they are very clearly not related, and you need to let this bit die.
No, I don't want to.
No, too bad.
They're not related. I know this.
We are killing this bit here and now.
I know that they're not. Oh my god.
That is what he looks like.
Oh, that looks really like Post Malone.
Just put a picture up.
No, I'm not.
Oh, so whenever you want to show a picture, the camera fucking goes on screen. But I want to do it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Because it adds to my argument that he is the cousin of Post Malone.
Fuck you.
Time to get a review of Slauson Malone. Quiet Farewell, 2016 to 2018. Again,
a very quiet farewell and get the fuck out of here.
Nope. I'm doing a very long farewell like this. And very loud, unlike this.
You bitch.
Slauson Malone is a New York City jazz, hip-hop, and ambient producer, mostly known before this new release for producing a few tracks for Erza's Nick Caution. This new album, A Quiet Farewell 2016-2018, is a glitchy and filthy mix of ambient music and abstract hip-hop. It's received high praise from likes of Needle Drop and Pitchfork, but most importantly, Injury Reserve's Richie with a T, Richie with a T, I don't want to say of a T. Richie with a T, who stated this is one of his favorite albums of the year so far. And surprisingly enough, Slauson Malone has a few dates with Injury Reserve on their latest tour, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, this kind of came out of nowhere. Slauson was nowhere on my radar. I just heard a lot of good praise for it, so I was really excited. And Richie with the T, his musical recommendations haven't proved me wrong yet. The last Z Loopers album was really good, and it got Daniel Brown to retweet us. So that's good enough.
Look, if you can get Danny Brown to retweet you, fuck it. Do it
Yeah.
again. Maybe we'll get another one.
So this entire album it's very like loose project. It doesn't really have a finite shape, and it's like weird mix of almost like pseudo plunderphonics and kind of like you can mix plunderphonics with kind of like what are they Arm & Hammer. It has that like grittiness to it. Just feels really like scratchy. Has that like dustiness. Like I'm like looking at an old photo, and in order to look at it, I have to kind of like blow the dust off.
Yeah.
It has this like a lot of deep bass lines that have kind of like ring your ears a bit. A lot of scratchy sampling moments across this entire thing. The features range from sounding like they're actually part of a sample that is being presented to
Like actually giving like performance.
An actual verse or just like a hook that's repeated. This thing's very unorthodox, kind of offbeat. It just feels kind of just like not finite. We're just kind of going through these different sound locations for something that's it sounds or seems like more of a kind of like a bunch of demos, at least in the, when you add like a date like 2016, 2018, it kind of not like demos, but like just loose ideas or concepts, not really going through a narrative theme. It flows tremendously well. I think the only thing I can dip on this is it's just a little bit too long for a project like this.
I like the length it's at. I think
because like I don't think it's like all of the tracks. I think it's like the last three just don't hit me as well as the beginning, and I think it kind of runs on all it really has to say for me personally. Not that I just think this is a tremendously produced just a mix of just mess. Which is really nice.
It's like a mixture of like a lot of things, and if you like kind of like pull out like some of the samples and like what they sound like, you got a lot of like world music and like old jazz and like old like gospel and blues and soul sounds. It's just kind of just like great mixture of like almost like an entire like cultural history of like an area. Like, if you were to take like I don't know, maybe like New Orleans and like go for like their entire like cultural like sound like history, it's like kind of collected into this one flowing, formless, beautiful like album where it just kind of touches on all these themes, just kind of keeps flowing and moving. And
for something that is like produced something with that has like a range of features that range from like very more like unnoteworthy to finite. I think it actually manages that realm really well, because like some records they will try to do loose features or they'll try to do finite features or like a mix of them, and it just comes off as like some of them just don't.
Like Flying Lotus.
Flying Lotus was a great example of that, because some of them were just not present and some of them were, and it's just a mix. This works really well because I don't really have any problems with the features, because some of them are production features, some of them are physical features, like performance features, and I think it really blends that line really well where you don't know what to really expect, and I think a lot of this album is very surprising, and it works really well in that regard because you don't know what really is around the corner, because it could just be this glitchy mess of noise or just this heavy thick bass line rattling you to your bone, or this joyous sample that just brings nothing but joy to you. It's if you like lo-fi hip-hop, but like you want to have intelligent lo-fi hip-hop, not just something to chill or study to, but something that makes you think. Definitely give this a listen if you like abstract hip-hop. As I mentioned, Arm & Hammer, I think a lot of their production kind of comes around
like some like experimental type of music.
I think this is a fantastic mix.
It's a great album. It's an album that I could never like listen to outside of like the album setup. Like none of these would like could work on their own. They are all like a piece of the cohesive whole, and they have to be there as they are.
It's a very nostalgic release and very like mournful in that kind of like atmosphere. I guess like that kind of like
there's a lot of somberness.
That's a good word. That's what I was kind of looking for. Somberness across this entire release. A very somber.
Which I think like I looked into like the history. He was basing it off like an old, like movie. What was it? It was like Sweetback's like Summer, something like that. And like the final line is something about like how like they burnt my mama, they'll burn my papa, but they won't burn me. It's like this kind of final act of defiance against the system that's trying to fuck you over. It's
a very somber collage of ideas being presented. across this entire thing in a bunch of different styles, from ambient, experimental hip hop, abstract hip hop, jazz, being thrown together in a really interesting way. Keep in mind that our scores are futile, meaningless. Right now, at this current moment, I'm feeling like an 8. I really enjoy it.
9.
9?
I'll do a 9.
Yeah, Trevor listened to a bit of this with me the other day, and he seemed to really enjoy it. So we're definitely going to be talking about this next week, because what's next week, Jonathan?
Goddamn Essentials Project.
Central Project Spring 2019. And there's a lot of them. there's a lot of them. So we're dedicating an entire episode next week, and it will be the first 3-person show.
3-person show.
I'm hoping you and Trevor like each other after meeting for the first time.
Sure, I'll go off this bit. I've never met Trevor before.
And like, I hope you guys think you're the same person, because you just like both host the show and you do like a mirror bit where it's just like,
you should be in the middle, and me and Trevor should try to like mirror each other's movements throughout the entire show.
oh my god, that'd be too much. Trevor would be too into that. I don't tell that to Trevor. I don't want to have to do that bit.
I'm gonna text him right fucking now.
God damn it. So yeah, this has been it for this episode of the Anthony and Todd Show. This has been episode 88, an episode we would like to call I Saw Denzel Curry's Planet Zoo at the PC Gaming E3 press conference.
I fucking hate now that I understand that joke.
If you want to support us, you can subscribe to the podcast if you're listening in audio form on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Play Podcast. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Anthony and Todd Show. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Anthony and Todd. And yeah, if you want to support us monetarily, you can support us monetarily through Patreon at patreon.com/The Anthony and Todd Show. So I can buy a what, Jonathan?
A fucking jet ski.
A jet ski.
I hope you fucking crash.
No, I'm gonna get lost at sea like DJ Khaled.
I hope you get lost at sea, and then right as you're like, you find the horizon again, you're about to come back and be saved, you fucking like wipe out and a shark eats you.
No, what happens is I get lost at sea, and then I get mad at Billboard for not making my album #1, and then I attempt to sue them because I'm an asshole.
And then a shark eats you.
No.
I just want a shark to eat you.
No.
Because then I can come in here and steal all your stuff.
No.
Starting with probably all these TVs.
No, because in my will it says Trevor gets all my stuff.
Then I'll have to kill Trevor.
Until next time, guys, I'm Vincent.
And I'm Jonathan.
And see you, boys.